Let's bring in Sheriff of Pinal County, Arizona, Mark Lamb. Mark, I'm sure you've been watching this unfold. Sheriff, tell us what your thoughts are at this point in the investigation.
Well, first and foremost, my heart goes out to those families, to that community. This is not an easy situation. My heart goes out to the parents who lost loved ones, and frankly, to the law enforcement as well, who had to respond to this scene. This is just a bad situation all around, and I really, truly prayers for that family and that community. But you know, these are things that I don't like the armchair quarterback ever. I'm assuming that there were circumstances that the police department, the responding agencies had to deal with, and I'm sure that they were making the best decisions they felt were possible at the time.
Sheriff, is it something that has become protocol to immediately rush into harm's way? I know that has been something that we've heard several of our guests who have served in law enforcement share with us, that no longer, it's not about securing the perimeter anymore. It's about just going right into danger. Is that your experience as well?
Yeah, and that's our protocol here at our agency. We treat active shooter situations, especially in a school. Our primary objective is to neutralize the threat. And so we will enter those buildings and treat it and try to stop it as quick as possible. Now, one thing that we're doing here in our county is we're working with the state. We got some grant funding. A lot of this equipment will be implemented this summer before the next school year, but it's cameras and notification systems that allow us to be able to access the cameras within the school to be able to know exactly where the shooter is, so that we can, or how many shooters there are, so that we can appropriately respond and neutralize that threat as quick as possible.
There's a lot of frustration from parents and from anybody like myself who has been a parent of elementary school kids, wondering why can't we go in? We'll rush them. We'll put our lives at risk to do that. And I know that's probably not the right thing to do. So could you give us your perspective on that situation? Because we have seen video of parents wanting to go in or asking why the law enforcement isn't going in to deal with it.
Yeah, that's a tough one. I'm a parent. I've got 5 kids. I probably would have went in there too, because I always have a gun on me. So, I mean, I would have felt like I could go in there and deal with that. They would have had a hell of a time stopping me as well. You know, we can always sit back now and look at it and say what the right or wrong thing was. But when these are fluid situations happening in real time, these are not easy to deal with. And frankly, I wouldn't want to be in the position of anybody there, a parent, law enforcement. They're tough, and then everybody's going to look at it, go back and say we did it wrong or right or whatever. It's not easy.
Sheriff, there are a lot of unanswered questions that remain. What questions would you want answered as soon as possible?
Well, I'm different. I'm not looking for any answers. I just want those families and this country, frankly, to come together and heal together and be able to mourn with those that are mourning, and hopefully that's what we can do right now. I think that the answers that everybody is looking for will come out in due time. But right now, none of those answers are going to make that grief go away for these families, nor are they going to bring back those loved ones. And hopefully we can move forward and learn from the mistakes or the good things that they did. And we can do a better job across this country of protecting our children.
Yeah, Sheriff, how has this affected you on your daily beat, if you will? Because obviously when something like this happens, your mind has to go many places.
Well, immediately here in our communities, parents do the same thing. Parents say, what about our schools? What are we doing to protect ours? So we had deputies respond to as many of the schools as possible yesterday and the day before, and be a presence in front of those schools and hopefully deter anybody else that might want to follow the actions of this suspect out there in Texas. So we're doing the best we can. I don't have school resource officers in the majority of my schools, but we're doing the best we can to have deputies present as much as possible to protect them. And we certainly did over the last couple of days to give those parents some comfort.
Kind of curious why the schools don't have SRO officers in some of the schools. I know there was a time there that more and more schools were adding them. And then there's always a question, what budget does that come out of? Is that a local decision?
Well, yeah, most of the time, Bob, it's a local decision. But we have a national movement saying let's defund the police. Well, the first places you're going to typically cut from are going to be things like school resource officers. And frankly, a lot of the schools across this country didn't want school resource officers anymore. They didn't feel like they wanted that police presence there. And this is what happens when we don't secure our schools and our children.
Yeah.
I would hope that more and more communities and more states will recognize the importance of having school resource officers in those schools and having some level of protection and a first responder right there on scene.
Yeah, my wife's an elementary school teacher, and not only can they ensure your safety, but they usually have a great relationship with the kids, and the kids don't look at law enforcement as something bad. They look at them as something friendly and something to ensure their security. So hopefully that mentality changes. Sheriff, thank you so much.
Thank you, Bob. Thank you, Katrina.